Alright, back again, Luke here. And today what I thought I could do is a little bit of an update here on this Time Killers arcade PCB. One of the things that I went around and had to do is I removed the old battery that was in there because the battery was actually bulging out. It was starting to get a little bit too rounded at the top, which means it's ready to pop. And the battery wasn't holding time or doing anything like that. So I took that out, I put in a CR2032, and I went around this board here trying to see what was going on as far as the sound issues were. I changed around the two capacitors on the other side and still was not getting the sound. So I started kind of pressing down on chips here, and I came across this GAL chip. And not only just pressing down on it, but actually touching the side here, the system wound up resetting itself. And when it reset itself, the sound came back on. And it stayed on for as long as the game was on. But once you turn the game board off, the sound disappears. And it does it every single time. So I'm kind of in a bit of a dilemma here. Not sure exactly what is causing this. But yeah, that's causing the sound to disappear. So I did also find that this pot over here is the one that's responsible for the darkness on the screen. So when I was worried about my screen getting too dark, I was starting to think, oh great, I'm going to have to do a monitor cap kit on this much earlier than I had expected. But lo and behold, it was actually this pot. So turn that, and then the brightness came up a little bit better. But I'll show you what this thing does, and then you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So hit the old switch, volume's up, and you'll see it starts up. Game starts up fine. If we go into the test mode, we go in here, go down to diagnostics, hit that, go into sound diagnostics, go into like Viking background music. You can't hear anything. Time Killers can't hear anything. Nothing. So, and by exiting out of this, exit diagnostics, and then just exit. Nothing. So you can just see for yourself or hear for yourself. There's nothing going on here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to touch this GAL chip on the side here, and you'll watch it reset. And the sound comes back on. So the sound for the for everything is back on. So even if I press the test button here, you can hear this. This is back on. Diagnostics, sound. It plays all of the sounds.
Right, left.
So everything works, but the only way it'll work is by touching that GAL chip and having the system reset itself. It just has to reset itself once, but once it does it, it'll bring the sound back. But this is kind of something irritating, you know, to do every single time you want to play the game, so I'm kind of at a loss. I really don't know what is causing this, where on the board is, you know, not working correctly. But if we go to turn this thing off again, we can shut the sound off, shut the board off, let it sit for a second, and then flip it back on. You can see system status okay, but nothing. There's no sound again. So I have no idea. I don't know what's going on it. You know, I've tried to press down on some of these chips just to see what happens, but yeah, nothing seems to work. But once again, if I hit the old reset on the GAL chip, just so odd. Just does not make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, it's working with sound, but only after doing a few odd things to it. So we'll have to see what else he can do. I think, you know, I'll try and go over some other chips here a little bit and see if that changes anything, but there's a lot of surface mount chips on here. And, you know, even after pressing down on a lot of these, still not changing very much at all. So, not sure exactly what the deal is, but just thought I'd share this with you guys here so you know what's up with the board. And you can see that it is playing with music, but it just has some very picky spots to it. If you turn it on very quickly, sometimes it'll do it, but yeah. No matter how much I try and reseat the chips too, it doesn't seem to affect anything. I tried switching around the RAM chips here, didn't do anything. Almost thinking it'd be nice to just put a reset button on it. I didn't have to touch the gal chip every time and possibly risk frying it. It's not system status okay. It is if I do this though. So yeah, that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. Okay, so I figured I'd do a bit of an update, and I went around all of the surface mounted chips here and with some new solder, with some flux, and thought all of the chips were pretty much down pat. There was no problems. They didn't look like they were lifted off or anything. Went around and tried to double check, make sure anything that I thought looked iffy, I went and checked to see if there was continuity. Using my multimeter, there was no problems. Plugged it back in and nothing. Still same thing. Had to reset it by touching this gal chip, and I thought that is really odd. But then something kind of clicked in my mind. With these sound issues, I had something similar like this with my other Midway boards, with my Mortal Kombat boards. And although that was related to a negative 5 volts issue, it was also related to a voltage issue. So I started to think to myself, okay, this is starting to come together, this is starting to make sense. Then I got an email from TortureBot a few days ago, and he had mentioned that he was glad to see that the graphics were working, but he thought he remembered the board itself having no problems with sound. And I thought, okay, knowing TortureBot, he's got a lot of Midway cabs, and I think all he has is Midway cabs. And those Midway cabs have a different kind of, I think they put out generally a little bit more power than what these candy cabs do here in Japan. So I started to think about that, and then I decided to hook this thing up to my Panda Custom. And after hooking it up to the Panda Custom, when I first turned it on, and then it kept resetting itself because it wasn't getting enough power. So when it turned on the time killers, and then it reset itself, and the time killers, you know, and it would kind of start to get into the game a little bit and then reset itself because there was not enough power going through the harness here from the power supply that was in it. So I decided to hook this thing up to my homemade rig that I had made up using a real arcade power supply that wasn't something like my Blast City. Blast City, I maxed out the power. I turned it all the way up and still couldn't get it to turn on. But with this setup here, it'll actually turn on. So I figured I'll turn this thing on here and you guys can listen for yourself. First time, every time. And there it is. It'll take a second here for the monitor to pop on. But yeah, you guys can see for yourself, it's not adjusted or anything, but just as a, you know, kind of, well, let's give it a shot thing, it does work. So it is related to power issue. This board here just needs much more power than what it's getting. So but I'll turn this thing off and we'll try it one more time here. Let's see. Okay, turn it off. And with that battery in there now, at least it's saving all of my settings, so that's why the demo sound is on. But let's flip it on one more time. So yeah, every single time it's popping on. It was just a bit of an issue with that not getting enough power. So if I'm going to do a gameplay on it, I'm going to have to reset it once by touching the gal chip in order to play it on that monitor over there, just because this one would be a pain. But as you guys can see and hear for yourself, it does work. I'm going to have to put a sticker on this one to let me know that this actually does take more power. What I try and do is put stickers on some of these boards to let me know what the issues are with them. So for example, with Pt.2, that's a board that requires less power. If you put too much power on it, it'll just come up with a blue screen and it won't work. So it's really picky about power. This one's picky about power, so... But yeah, so you guys can expect a gameplay of this coming soon. It'll be on the other cab, but nonetheless, it's up and working and fully functioning Time Killer's arcade PCB. But that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching. And one more time for fun.